Hello and welcome to the video lecture series brought to you by St. Andrews Institute of Technology and Management. My name is Ravinda. I'm an assistant professor with the ETC department, and the subject that we are discussing now is programming for problem solving. And today's topic will be the switch case. Okay, now switch case is actually a conditional statement which we have left it out intentionally before at the time that we have discussed the if-else loop, if-else conditional statements, but now it will make more sense. So let's head back to your notes. Switch statement. A switch statement in the C language is used to execute the code from multiple conditions. Now it is quite simple actually. In switch statement, we are not going to use any conditional statement to be qualified as true or false that we have done in the if-else loop before. Suppose in the if else block we have defined our conditional statement such that if it comes out to be true, then we'll go inside the if block, and if it comes out to be false, then we have an option to execute the else block or not, or the multiple if else blocks. What if I want my particular syntax or particular block of code to be executed if a value comes out to be some value, and I want to execute some other block of code or other lines of code if my value comes out to be different. Suppose if the value comes out to be 1, I want the block of code to be printed in which there is one printf statement which says, okay, you are the gold medalist. And if the value came out to be 2, I want, okay, you are the first runner up. And if the value came out to be 3, I want, okay, you are the third runner up or the bronze as a medalist. And if you are fourth, fifth, or any other thing than that, then okay, you will have your participation certificate. So this is how. Now the conditional statement which will turn out to be true or false will, yes, you will be able to do that with the help of this particular if else block, but it's going to be quite hasty and quite repetitive. We have a much better solution to these kind of problems, that is a switch statement. As you can see in your notes here, the switch statement begins with a switch keyword and then your brackets in which there will be an expression, and that expression will result in a value. Let me again say that it will result in a value. Now then the curly braces will start, and inside those curly braces we have several of the options, and those options will be the blocks of code that will be executed if the value comes out to be some, or some other block of code will be executed if it comes out to be different. So we'll have different cases. So first case will be when the value is equal to 1. Second case will be when the value is equal to 2. Third case will be when the value is equal to 3. I'm saying value 1, 2, 3 because we have just discussed the example. If a particular expression defines what is your position in your 100-meter race. So if value comes out to be 1, it means you are the gold medalist. So the syntax will go as, you will write the keyword called case, that is mandatory, case, and no 1, 2, 3, 4 will be written after it. Okay, just case, and then the blank, and then the value that you want to print. This I have written here value 1, which is just to signify what is going to be there. Value 1 means, let's say, there will be written only 1 here in case of the example of 100-meter race, and then your columns, and then the block of code, and then the block of code, and then break statement, semicolon, and then the next case, the keyword case, space, and the second value, which could be anything, could be true or false, could be 1, 2, 3, 4, could be any string. Okay, anything, and then colon, and then the block of code that you want to execute if the value becomes this one, and then the break statement. And in the end, when all the cases have expired and your value doesn't match with any of it, there will be a default keyword and there will be no value around it, and then the colon and the code that you want to execute if none of the value matches with your case. Okay, so this is how your switch statement will execute. So let's me head you to the real example. So this is how it will. Okay, now switch statement will have, it has been written as a conditional statement, but it is not mandatory to have a conditional statement. It could be any expression with any value. Okay, okay. Let's look at this live example here. Now, in this example, we have started with a switch case statement. Now, in this, first we have started with the switch keyword, and then inside the brackets, I have provided an expression called num. Now, num has a value equal to 8. We have already declared that. And then we have case 7, case 8, case 9, and default. Now, this doesn't mean that we have skipped case 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. No. Case and the value. This is not the numbering, this is value. So, what it is trying to say is, if the value after the case is actually equal to this num value, then you must execute this block of statement. If in this case, if it is not, then move on to next case. And if this value matches the value of this expression num, then please execute this block of code. And if that is not, move on to next, and so on. And if none of the values matches the num expression value, then the default will be executed. So in this particular case, as you can see, switch requires the value of num. Now num has a value of 8. So we'll go inside this switch case block. First, we'll encounter the first case, and the first case will be executed only when the value of num is equal to 7. Now num is not equal to 7, it is actually equal to 8, as you can see here. So the control will skip this particular block. It will move on to next block. When in the next block, it will compare the value after the case keyword, that is 8, equal to the value of num. Okay, now that value is actually 8. The comparison is let's say successful. The comparison came out to be true. In that case, we'll go inside after this, the statements after this colon will be executed. That is this printf statement called the value is 8 will be executed. And after that, the next statement is break. As you can remember from the last lecture, the break, what will break do? Break will take you out of this switch case and will be here after this switch case. And after this break, none of the remaining cases will be, let's say, encountered. So this will not be encountered, and this will not be encountered. So we'll directly came out of the control of the switch case. So this is how it is done. Suppose the value of num is equal to 11. In that case, this case will also not get executed, and this case will also not get executed because the value of num is 11 now. It is not 9. In that case, only the default will be executed. Let me again tell you, and as you can see here, default has no value with it, no value associated with it. It means default mean is if none of the cases matches the value of expression inside the switch, in that case you should execute this block of code. So the message that is going to be printed out is out of range. That means the value of the num that you have provided doesn't match any of the case. And then break, it means we are going to get out of the switch case. And this is how your switch case can be implemented. So you can see here, so you can see here that switch case is just like your if else block, but it doesn't provide initially, it only requires an expression, not a conditional statement. The comparison of this value of this expression is actually done here automatically. You don't need to do this. So case, and after that there could be any value. So let's try to implement one. small example. We have time left, I think. So let's say we have a value called int a is equal to 56, and let's start with switch, and after switch I will provide the switch has to look for value of a, and then case first, sorry, case 1 says the value is 60, and we'll provide a printf statement which says value is 60 and break. If you don't apply a break here, what will happen is, even if your case matches, then even let me first write it. Let's say 56. Even if your case matches with the first one, without break, the control is going to check for other cases also, and that is actually the waste of your resources. So to get out of the switch case after the match with successful candidate, it is actually good. You should implement break there. Okay. So break is essential if you don't want to waste your resources. Value is, let's say, 56, and last will, oh sorry, forget to implement break, and the last one will be, let's say, default, and have one more statement, printf, let's say none, and break. Okay, let's try to save this. So let's try to execute this, if it works or not. There it is, value is 56. Value is 56. Now let me show you what will happen if I don't apply break here. So let's change this value to 60 first. I want first case to be the successful case, and let's remove these breaks. Let's see what happens if I do this. Let's save it. The value is 60, the value is 56, and none. So after encountering the successful candidate, it is going to execute all the other cases below it. Let me again tell you, below it. As you can see here, below it, not after that. So let's change this value again to 56, and we'll show you what I am trying to say here. Let's first add. Okay, so let's do this, and as you can see here, first statement, first case doesn't qualify it because the value of a is 56, and the case says if the value is 60, please implement this. So that doesn't qualify. But the second case actually matches with the value of a. Second case says if the value is 56, that is of a, then please do this. So it prints the value is 56, and after that it doesn't actually looks for the cases. After that, all the cases below the successful candidate will be executed no matter the case matches or not. So that is why the default has been executed and none has been printed here. If there are more cases below 56, then those cases will also be executed. If this case 56 is qualified as successful candidate and you haven't added break statement here. So that is why break is actually important, because after matching, the successful candidate, after finding out the successful candidate, that is case 56, it's going to execute all the other remaining cases that are below this successful candidate. The candidates that are above this successful candidate are not executed. So this is a drawback of switch case. So I'm going to insert break again, and we'll see the difference. Okay, let me also move here. Okay, now let's run it again. And there it is, the value is 56. Although this time the value 56, this is your successful candidate, and if break is not there, then all the cases below it along with default will be executed. But because we have implemented, because we have inserted break here, the control will switch after encountering this break immediately to the outside of the switch case. Okay, so it is absolutely essential to insert break in your each case. So I think you have got the idea what a switch case is. There we have numerous possibilities where you can switch case efficiently, which actually is more optimized. It is more optimized to use switch case instead of if else case. So I'm going to end this lecture now. Thank you.